We are starting off this vlog, a new vlog since like forever, so bear with me. But I wanted to do like a week before Halloween, a spooky reading vlog, which I kind of already read all of my spooky reads for Halloween. And now I'm kind of just playing catch up on books that I had already started that I wanted to finish. But today, life updates for today. I took my husband to the airport. He's gonna be gone for 2 weeks. We had pictures on the house, so it's gonna be going on the market hopefully by the end of the week, in time for the weekend. As you know, I have 2 kids. I have a middle schooler and an elementary schooler. What my youngest son's school is doing like a trunk or treat, and then their karate is doing a trunk or treat, both on Friday. I don't know if we're gonna be able to make it to both of them. And then Saturday, our new home community is doing a like haunted trail for trick-or-treaters. So I want to go to that. And then Sunday, of course, is Halloween. You know, I don't watch a lot of TV, but when my husband was home this last couple weeks, we, on top of being really productive, we actually got a lot of time to watch a bunch of different shows and TV that I don't really usually watch. We watched this one show, it's so cool, called Best in Blow, and it's about glass blowing. I really don't like watching like reality shows and competition game shows. I really don't like them. Like, I'll watch a couple, just kind of see what it's about. But after that, I'm just completely lose interest. But this is one that I fell in love with. Another one we watched was a cooking competition. But all of these people that were competing were all like Michelin star winners, and so it was kind of like who's the best of the best. So it was actually really interesting. You got to learn one thing I think that really kept my interest is that each episode they had to create a dish, a signature dish or something from a different country or culture, and I'm really into that kind of thing, so I found that really interesting. Other than that, we watched You, finally. I was so torn on that one, if I should watch it or read the book, or both. I think after watching it, I'm not really that interested in reading the book, but the show is really good. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe what happened with the latest girl. And now, the person that I was like kind of rooting for, I don't even like him anymore. Yeah, so I'm actually like, I really got into that show. A lot of TV shows, I'll watch like the first season and like get so invested. And then after like the second season, it's kind of, or later, like I really lose interest, or the characters just, it wasn't what I was actually trying to say is, much like The Expanse, I think it was about around season 3, where a lot of the characters, primarily our main character, actually completely changed, and he became such a prick. He was like the nice guy, and then I just decided I didn't like him anymore. And then our badass sub character, she was my favorite character. She was so cool, and she completely changed as well, and so that's really what made me not like The Expanse after a while. So plus it just got weird. Like, there's this whole thing, it got weird. It doesn't even completely make sense. I mean, it makes sense. You'll have to let me know if I should read the book. Like, does the book have this, or is this purely for the TV show? I've heard that the book is actually really good, and I really love the base concept of this like whole cities in space, and I loved that from season 1. So just let me know if I should actually read the books, though. I don't know, it's like the same thing. Like, I just like lose interest. Also, we watched Dune. I was gonna try to read the book before, but then I was like, okay, this book is actually really old. It's like from the 60s, and like they're having this huge resurgence, and I really didn't want to buy the book new. I think the price of the mass market paperbacks are like $17, or no, like they're like $10. I don't know. I mean, it's not bad, but I don't know. I just don't know if I'm gonna like it. So, but we watched the movie. Oh my God. I love the movie. We ended up actually watching it twice. It's so, so good. Apparently the movie is only like half of the first book, so I was like, I have to know what's gonna happen. I watched some reviews on like trying to determine if I should read the book or not, and a lot of people are saying that the book's got its problems and the TV show actually kind of fixed it, and so I'm kind of worried that if I go out and buy it, I'm gonna be highly disappointed. So I'm probably not gonna read it, or I'm just gonna wait until much later if I happen to find a charity book. So that's what I'm watching. Let's go ahead and get into things I'm reading. First of all, this month has been crazy for reading. I didn't even realize how many books I've actually burned through until I was like updating my spreadsheet yesterday. I have read 13 books already this month, and we still have another week to go. That's crazy to me. 2 of those books, I literally just finished them over the weekend. These 2 books have been on my TBR since last year. I didn't care if I didn't read anything as long as I finished those 2 books, and I ended up finishing them both. So plus all the other books. So I'm really, really excited. So what time is it? It's already like 5:45, and tomorrow is early release. So I'm just gonna chill. I'm just going to hang out and read. Oh, I forgot. I also am reading Horrid on ebook. So that one was on my most anticipated reads, I think, of last year. When did it come out? I was really, really anticipating this book. Just randomly started it because I'm kind of bouncing around on which ebooks to read. So I have that one, and I also have the Iliad Crest on ebook. And that one's also phenomenal, but I don't know if I want to read it on ebook. I think I want to get the physical book eventually. So I went ahead and switched over to so what?
We're waiting for this stuff. I want to grab a piece of paper. Is that okay?
Hmm?
Can I grab a piece of paper?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
I heard like the creak of the door, and I was like, what the heck is going on? Yeah, so I switched over to Horrid, and it just like grabbed my attention. I'm like so into it, and it's kind of I don't know, I really, really like it. So I'm thinking I'm going to end up doing like a different like book review for that one. What do you want? Okay. And that's all. So I will catch up with you later. Hey, how's it going? Let's talk about some books. Hold on. That is so not better. Okay, so let's talk about some books. I don't have a whole lot of time right now. It is a little bit busy evening routine but I want to talk about 2 books that I finished this month. We're not going to talk about every single book that I read, but I just wanted to mention these 2 spooky books. Despite everything else that I read, I'm just so happy that I completed these 2 books this month. And that is, the first one is House of Leaves. I'm like so sick and tired of talking about this book. I feel like I'm talking about it all the time. But yeah, I finished it. I finally did. I did actually finish this last week. I started like taking some video footage, but then about halfway through, it also, not only did it really slow down, but some things happened in life and I couldn't really film. So I'm probably gonna insert that here. All right, I'm officially on chapter 9. Whenever a word is in this blue contrasting, it means house. So everywhere it says house, it's in blue. So obviously domus means house. But this chapter is the chapter I've been really excited for because we're starting to get into the really strange bits where the text is much different. And then we have these weird boxes. And I guess the way you're supposed to read these, like there is a specific way. Like you read in the box, in the box as you're going through it. And then like when you get to the end of these, you will come back towards the beginning of the chapter by like, I guess like flipping it and like reading this all the way back. I'm not sure 100%, but I think that's like what you're supposed to do as you're reading this. Oh, and like here's another section where like you have to flip it and read this. So yeah. One thing I really love about this book is all of the literary references in it. There is actually a whole list, and I want to, when I'm done reading this book, I want to kind of comb through it and just for fun and see. There's a lot of references in here to articles and works or authors or even people, and some of those references they seem legitimate, but they're like completely made up. This section that I'm reading right now, this whole story of the Minotaur and the Labyrinth. So there's like this whole website that talks about all these different literary resources. Literary research type of thing could probably really enjoy the aspect of this book too, like I do. So just a little note. So I'm finally at the part where there's like the crazy boxes, right? So first I read, like I was waiting for the cue that like, okay, move on to the box, which there's only one cue, and that is a footnote number, which I can't find. Oh, here it is. Okay, so here's a paragraph, and then here's the footnote in the middle of at the end of the sentence. It says, nothing here provides reason to linger, in part because not one object, let alone fixture or other manner of finished work, has ever been discovered here. Footnote 144. Okay, so this is basically a spoiler. But I was looking for, I was kind of looking for videos where people like talk about this book a little bit more in depth, and everyone's just kind of like leaving it extraordinarily vague. I'm gonna spoil it, but basically these pages look really daunting, but if you don't read it right, like if you don't really follow along correctly, it's not a big deal, because the only thing that is in this box is just a list. That is all. And then like on the front of the page, and then you flip it over, and then there's the box here and here. And if you're just flipping through, it looks like there's text in this box. When you look at it more closely, it almost even looks like a different language, but all it is as if the paper were like transparent, and it's the same words that were on the front, but they're just like literally mirrored. It's actually a really interesting effect on the sides where there's like really tiny text. Again, it's just a different type of list. This part here is really the important part of the pages. So it's gonna make reading these pages less daunting. There's not as much to read on the page as it seems. Really got into this book, like so into it. But then I'm gonna probably try to find this video I found. I can't even think of her name. I feel horrible. If I can find it, I will link it here, because she did a really good reading vlog of this book. She explains this book so well. I cannot do it justice at all. I don't necessarily know if it needs explanation. I think we're all kind of familiar with it. So anyways, I'm just gonna tell you how I felt about it. So I was really into this book till about halfway through. Everything is very intentional. It's very much like all of these documents kind of thrown together and someone trying to make sense of it. And then there's Johnny Truant, who is now reading all of this and his response to everything, and he's kind of unwinding. It's web. The people, they just obsess over it, and they start, like Johnny Truant starts having moments where he's not even sure. It's kind of trippy. Like there's an instance where there's just a whole list of names to prove some sort of point. Everything had an intention. Even if you weren't really meant to sit there and read every single name on the list, you could understand why it's there. It had an intention. Everything, the odd way that this is put together, the formatting has an intention. It's almost like an illustration of what you're experiencing kind of thing. Like some poems where they change, like play with the formatting a little bit to enhance the meaning of the poem. It's kind of the same concept in this book. So I reached about the 350 page mark. I have to say, not only did it just really slow down, a lot of the choices that went into the formatting or the extra bits that they put in there was more and more chaotic. It kind of felt like fluff, unnecessary fluff. So we did this for about 300 more pages, and I was really getting so tired of it. And then I just got to the point where I'm just like, I just need to finish this book, like hoping it's gonna have a reason when we get to it. And it never really resolved itself in that way, why we had 300 pages of things that seemed nonsensical. Really could have been cut and it still would have had the same intrigue for me. But then again, at the end, so it brought it back together for me. However, with all the pages that it dragged on, if it had a reason, it would have been a solid 5 stars. But because I felt like a good, huge chunk of this really could have been cut, it dropped it down a star, so it's ended up being 4 stars for me. My lasting impression of this book, if I could sum up this book, the feeling it gives, the eeriness, and even put into words what's happening, there's an image that explains it. It is like being in a room of mirrors. What is that? That scene from Divergent, and you like look behind you and it goes on for infinity and you kind of get sucked in and then you kind of don't know which one's real kind of thing. That's this book. I love it. I really love that overarching feeling that it leaves you. So anyways, that is that. The second book I was thrilled to finish, Frankenstein. I kind of read from this and an audiobook. I feel a little bit disappointed in myself because I felt like I really struggled to get into her writing style. At the beginning of this book, there's about 4 or 5 letters, and I really had a hard time with the letters, and so then I ended up getting to a point where I just skipped them completely and started in on chapter 1. I kind of got into it. I was like reading along and really realizing I forgot where I'm at. I don't really know what's going on. I have not seen any like Frankenstein movies, or I haven't seen any other media or retellings of Frankenstein at all. However, you can't like live on this planet without having some sort of references that make you familiar with what Frankenstein is. I did also see the movie Mary Shelley, but it has nothing to do with Frankenstein. Just during the time that she wrote Frankenstein, reading some of the themes that she wrote about in Frankenstein and just understanding like what happened to her and her child, I think that it brings a whole nother layer to maybe the inspiration and the grief and torture that she was working through while writing this. So it's kind of cool perspective to kind of read from. But I can't say that I was fully not influenced by media, even though I hadn't seen it. And I was thinking that the monster, I kind of thought of him as this mindless creature, but he's so not. Honestly, he's more intuitive, more in touch with life, I want to say, and his place in life, maybe, than the other characters when you hear from his perspective. I have so much compassion for him. But then, oh, and then Victor Frankenstein, like when he is confronted with his creation and he is just like, no, you're hideous, I can't take it, and flees and leaves him there alone. You're just like, I had so much love and compassion for him. And then you can kind of see how we get to the end, how he unravels, how they kind of both unravel, and how their lives are tied together, the despair, and just so many deep emotions, and also so much commentary on topics of life, creation, what should be, what should not be, some ethics there, you know, how much should science have control? What is its effect? Is it good? Is it bad? But my own beliefs. Okay. I I don't want to divulge my own beliefs too much because that is for me and me alone. And I don't really get into controversial, deep topics because I know that everyone has their opinion. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. And there's really no sense in making sure that everyone understands my opinion because it's only going to make people mad. I haven't really been subject to anyone getting severely angry with me, but I can imagine that they're out there. It's really no point trying to spare you all my personal opinion. The only way I know really exactly how to explain it though is I have very strong opinions on, like, for instance, if you were to get pregnant and you knew that your child was going to have an issue that would impact their life negatively, whatever that means. That could mean a lot of things. Certain things can be fixed, other things can't be fixed, other things could make someone dependent upon you for the rest of their lives. Like, they can't grow up and, you know, there are things like that which you as a person, anybody who can foretell that this is going to happen, you have to be faced with is it morally right to bring them into this world and subject them to life and its harshness, or is it better to terminate the pregnancy and spare them that heartache? And even, I'm sorry, but even yourself as a parent, it's going to fundamentally change the rest of your life. And here's another concept of, like, say a person that needs to be dependent upon somebody for the rest of their lives, they are going to outlive you as a parent. So you can't be the one that takes care of them. So then at that point, if something happens to you, what does that mean for them? What does that mean for someone else who has to end up taking care of them? All of those kinds of questions. This book made me think of all of those things. Like, more and more pregnancies go completely full term. There's less infant deaths nowadays because of science, which is excellent because 100 years ago, a lot of women would lose their children or they would die themselves during childbirth. So science has been really good for those situations, but also there's some instances where science maybe is not so good. And that's just one instance. There's a lot of other instances when you're talking about anything that science has come and fixed. Vaccinations, having pills to fix everything, plastic surgery, you know, all of the things. However, I feel like I got like half of this book, if that makes sense. I cannot wait to reread this book. I think I'm going to probably end up like rereading it next year. I don't plan on rereading it anytime soon, but I definitely want to reread this book again because I feel like I could have gotten so much more out of it that I was kind of missing out on. And now it's time for me to go and take care of our evening routine. I'm gonna crawl into bed and hopefully finish Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Oh wait, I technically have not told you about that yet. So the last book, since we still have a week, I am also reading Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. This book is, when was this book written? Okay, we're gonna look at the time frame that this book was written because, this edition actually, interestingly enough, the introduction is written by Vladimir Nabokov, who wrote Lolita. Kind of interesting. It is a 34-page introduction. I did start reading it. It was written in bed, 1885. 1818 was when that was published. And actually, I also want to look at, I'm on my laptop over here. 1859, Tale of Two Cities was published. I'm kind of making a mental note because I did struggle getting into the language of Mary Shelley, and I'm really struggling getting into the language of Tale of Two Cities. The language in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is very easy to get into. I'm not struggling at all with the language, and so I don't know, I'm kind of that's quite a lot of years, from 1818 to 1860 to 1885. That's a decent amount of time for things to change a bit. So maybe it's just a matter of time frame or it's the author and the author's personal style. I know that Charles Dickens in particular does a lot of flowery writing with his descriptions, and maybe that's kind of where I'm struggling a little bit with Tale of Two Cities. I did start that book as well. We'll talk about that later because I don't know. Good late morning. I am on page 53. There's 123 pages in this book and 40-page introduction. Anyways, I am so just sucked in by Stevenson's writing. Like, it's so good. Like, I just want to read this description because it's just like mood. I am laying down because I'm tired, and I don't know why, like, I'm cold. At last his patience was rewarded. It was a fine dry night, frost in the air, the street as clean as a ballroom floor, the lamps unshaken by any wind, drawing a regular pattern of light and shadow. By 10 o'clock, when the shops were closed, the by-street was very solitary, and in spite of the low growl of London from all round, very silent. Small sounds carried far, domestic sounds out of the houses, were clearly audible on either side of the roadway. I just love the way they talk too. Like, I've been writing all over this book. Just things like, I love how they talk. Because I wish their friends were younger, chuckled Dr. Lanyon. But I suppose we are. And what of that? I see little of him now. Indeed, said Utterson. I thought you had a bond of common interest. We had, was the reply, but it is more than 10 years since Henry Jekyll became too fanciful for me. He began to grow wrong in mind. And though of course I continue to take an interest in him for old sake's sake, as they say, I see, and I have seen devilish little of the man. Such unscientific balderdash. There's several instances here in this book so far where they use words like balderdash. I love it. Here's another thing. It's really out of context, but I just love the play of words. So now he's talking about like what it is to just be like woken up in the middle of the night and just thinking. Hitherto it had touched him on the intellectual side alone. But now, his imagination also was engaged, or rather enslaved. And as he lay and tossed in the gross darkness of the night and the curtained room, Mr. Enfield's tale went by before his mind in a scroll of lighted pictures. He would be aware of the great field of lamps, of a nocturnal city, then of the figure of a man walking swiftly, then of a child running from the doctors, and then these met. And that human juggernaut, trod the child down and passed on regardless of her screams. Or else he would see a room in a rich house where his friend lay asleep, dreaming and smiling as his dreams. And then the door of that room would be opened and curtains of the bed plucked apart. The sleeper recalled, and lo, there would stand by his side a figure to whom power was given. I don't want to waste too much time just like reading, because I probably end up reading this whole book out loud. But I really liked Even to Dizziness, through wider labyrinths of lamp-lighted city. I am so in love with this book, just saying. Good afternoon. Man, today was, it's always different when the kids have early release. It like totally messes up my groove, but it ended up being really good afternoon. I had to take a nap. I don't know what's up with this. I'm using this as my tripod right now, so. Yeah, there's like, you know, the blinds. I'm gonna have to move yeah, we might have to move, so I don't know, we'll see. Anyways, let me just, so I read quite a bit of this. I'm on page 79 of 123, so I should be finishing this up today while the kids are in karate. Right now I am meal prepping like a boss. I am making like a breakfast casserole. If you see my last video, you know that I'm moving. That means that at any given time, I don't know if you've ever like sold a house before, but when you do showings, like your house has to stay like perfectly clean all the time. Like not even a sock on the floor, which is really difficult when you have kids, when they help themselves to the kitchen and drop cereal everywhere. Like, it's a constant struggle, it's a battle. One thing that's gonna help a lot is meal prepping, just so that we can eliminate excessive dishes and cooking. And at any given time, they could give you 15-minute notice before they're gonna show up for a showing. You don't have to take it like if you're in the middle of dinner, but you wanna show the house as much as possible, because you don't know if those people are gonna be the ones to buy your house. So you just have to like get out of Dodge, make yourself scarce within like 15 minutes. You wanna be able to like grab a couple things, get your stuff together, make sure your house is completely clean and ready for a showing. And so it can be kind of stressful, and it's quite there's like definitely, I was talking to a friend of mine, he's about to sell his house too, and he's like, here we go, like he's done it more than I have, but we were just talking about how like you have such unrealistic expectations. Most people have a little bit of clutter, especially when you have kids. They'll leave their clothes on the floor. So trying to keep up with them and just keep everything clean, it's gonna be a lot easier if I can meal prep. So that's what we're doing. All right, I'm basically new to cooking tofu. I didn't have any I'm not vegan or anything like that. I just want to kind of start making these are a little bit just different, just having different things. I don't know, just salt, pepper, and olive oil. I'm really not sure how to cook it. Then after I cook it, I'm gonna put it in some soy sauce, and then I have like white rice to put on top of it, or to put it on top of. Yeah, I'm kind of new to cooking tofu, so if you have any recommendations, please drop them below. But I have just finished pressing it. So I've been watching a few videos, and I did try this one where it was like crispy on the outside, and you're supposed to put, I forgot, they use like some sort of like flour or baking soda, but I didn't have baking soda, and I was like, okay, well it just has to be like a powdery substance so they can get crispy. So I use almond flour. I've never cooked with almond flour before. I bought it because I was gonna actually try to make macaroons. I never got to it. I got too scared because I'm not a very good cook. We know this. Yeah, so anyways, I tried that, and it had a gritty texture instead of a crispy. I didn't like it. So we're just gonna go basic. And cutting board that is, and then this is another cutting board. So I just kind of pressed. I think next time I am gonna get like the not firm, because I want to crumble it on like salad and try it that way too. But yeah, very nice. Spaghetti squash. This is another one of my favorite things to make recently. They're super easy. They just kind of take a long time, and they're really hard to cut. But it's a really good substitute for like spaghetti and stuff. Well, we are in my car. I don't have a tripod, so I'm just holding my phone, so it's really shaky. Sorry. I wasn't actually gonna film in my car, but I was gonna wait till I had like a better shirt. But I took this really cute picture for my husband yesterday because he left, and I don't know what it was. It was funny because it was like an impromptu, like he sent me a picture of himself at the airport with his mask on and everything. So I was like, okay, here's a picture of me, and sent him a picture of myself, and I was like already in bed, and like looking like trash, but it ended up coming out actually really cute, I thought. At least I thought anyways. But my shirt made me laugh because it's hot dogs. And it was like cut off like this, so all it said was hot dogs. And I thought it was really funny. Actually, I'll probably just share the picture. Anyways, we were at karate. It was kind of a rush to get here. Like my timer went off just in time to take things out of the oven. And then I had a couple other things I wanted to put in the oven, but I could have waited until I got home. But it's always kind of a rush when we get home too. No, my oldest son, he came out before karate and he had like a headache. And he said he wasn't feeling great, and so I was like, okay, fine, you stay home. So pop those things in the oven. I'm like not even looking at the camera. Woke up with a migraine, and he's not feeling very good. He's probably just dehydrated. Hopefully it's just dehydration, because he says that he's got a lot of congestion. So we're here at karate, and I feel like a bad mom at home. He forgot his book and his belt. So this dojo has very strict rules. If they forget the book, they have to do push-ups, but it's discipline. It's understanding that you need to come prepared. Lots of little rules and habits, and I freaking love it. But I felt so bad. Like, they have not forgot their books since like the first week, which is understandable, or second week, which is understandable. But since then, they have not forgot their books or their belts at all. And we keep them in a very specific spot, but I don't know if it's just because things are kind of crazy. Today was weird because it was an early release day. I have been like cooking instead of sitting up in the office helping them with homework. So it's just a really weird day. And then Aaron forgot his book and his belt, and he was almost to tears. He's like, it's embarrassing to get called out and have to do push-ups. But then I was like, if we go home and come back, then you're gonna have to do push-ups for being late. And so it's like, either way, like, you're just gonna have to do your push-ups, you know. And I don't even think it was necessarily push-ups that he was worried about. He was just like, it's embarrassing. And I feel so bad as a parent, you know. Sometimes you just have to be like, you can't forget things even when things are kind of crazy. But it is gloomy. It is, what is wrong with my eye? It is gloomy. It is rainy. It is stormy. Earlier, there was thunderstorms. The thunder seems to have subsided as of now that I'm able to come and lay down with my book. But regardless, rain is just the perfect time to read, especially a spooky book. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm so close to being done. I'm on page, I only got like 12 pages left and it'll be finished. And then I'm about 75% of the way through Horrid. We'll talk about that one because I'm kind of like 50-50. It's really good. It's also really terrible, but I'm digging it. So I would like to finish that one as well. But I also want to go up and work on some things up in my office, but we'll just see. So apparently we might be having some severe weather. I don't know, the school actually called me and they're like canceling after school things. I think it's kind of weird because like the rain let up. I'm kind of surprised about that. I haven't looked it up yet, but I wonder if that means there's like hurricane weather or something. With my luck, I'd be the last to know. I wouldn't know until like it hit. Anyways, so I finished Horrid. So I finished Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So good. So good. I really enjoyed it. Just the ending, I think, was a little bit dragged out. It's like the final statement of a character. I just like, it was kind of like rehashing the entire story, but from their perspective instead of being told through Mr. Utterson and whatnot. I don't know if it was completely necessary. I liked parts of it for sure though. But anyways, it was ended up being really good. It was a really fun read. Nice to have such a quick little read as well. And then I also finished Horrid. Horrid, on the other hand, I was highly anticipating it. It's beautiful, beautiful cover. Definitely spooky vibes, sad girl vibes. There were parts that I thought were done so well. Like the atmosphere got tense, the spook factor, the buildup, the balance of everything mostly, but there were some things that I was not a fan of. For example, certain descriptions were really unnecessary. Like every single little thing was included that didn't add anything to the story. I'm gonna have to pull it up later because it's on my phone, but I'll have to pull out some examples of this. You'll know what I mean. But that being said, I need to run out and hit up the store before I go pick up my kids. I'm looking for a couple of items to finish off my son's Halloween costume. We are getting to the last minute. I didn't get to order him a katana. I'm gonna do the best that I can to find one. Other than that, we just need like some white fabric to do like around his calves to make the pants sit right. And that's about it. So he called and said that they're dismissing kids early from school today because of the weather, and I was like, are we sure about this? What weather? And apparently we have a tornado watch. So yeah, not a hurricane, but a tornado watch. But it's just a watch, like it's probably gonna be nothing, but whatever. So that's where I'm at. I'm picking up the kids now. But I brought A Tale of Two Cities to read. I need a new book. Maybe. All right, good morning. I am just waiting for the kids to get ready for school, and I did kind of like a read a chapter. I had several books, like 5 different books. I wasn't sure which one I wanted to read. So last night I did kind of like a read a chapter, and this is the one that I ended up with, The Peculiars by Maureen Doyle McQuarrie. And I was a bit nervous that this was going to have like extremely like immature young adult writing, but it doesn't. That's great. I'm already in chapter 2, and yeah, it's actually really good. It's a little bit more, I forget what time period it is, but it's a regular thing for girls to wear long dresses, gloves, red trains. So I'm thinking it's more, more of a historical period. Yeah, I'm really liking it. So let's hope that it stays that way. I have gotten into books before where I'm like, wow, this is actually really good writing. And then like halfway through, it completely like takes back steps. So let's hope that it stays that way. I'm not sure what I'm doing today. I kind of just want to curl up and read. I kind of just want to get on my computer and work on some things. And then I kind of also want to run a couple errands, but I think I should stay home. We do have a busy evening tonight. So, all right, well, I'll catch up with you later. Just 2 dinosaurs walking. Best friend. Hey. Oh. It's a video for my vlog. Is that okay?
Yeah.
We got popcorn. Got some candies. And
Move it.
what is it? And a cat. Gwen. Kiki Kiki. Hi, Pee-Pee. You want popcorn?
Specifically Hocus Pocus.
Want popcorn?
Don't give her popcorn. She's not going to eat it. She's gonna take one with
And what is our movie? Hocus Pocus. Aww.
You guys got to see the sad part.
I know, right? Best Halloween movie ever. We have to watch Hocus Pocus. That's what we're doing. Good afternoon. I'm just holding my phone up with my hand, so sorry for any camera shake. Just a quick little update. It's been a really weird day. So we had a showing this morning. I just feel like I can't do anything. I feel like I can't be myself because the house needs to stay a certain way. So I'm just like staying to my little corner, which is so weird. I think it's in my head because that's usually what I do anyways. It was kind of a weird showing too because we left and we drove down the street just to hang out at the lake. And then I got a call that I guess the clients didn't want to come in with a cat or something. And so I had to come home and we had to remove the offending cat from the premises. Poor Gwen. But I don't mean to complain or anything like that. Like, it just kind of threw me. We have dogs. We even had dogs, and I think we put them in kennels or something. We had to put them in kennels or something like that. So yeah, it was kind of weird because I like to just disappear. I mean, that's kind of what you're supposed to do. As I was trying to hustle her out, and she didn't want to leave because she doesn't really like going outside. And then I felt really bad that I wasn't like nicer to the agent or something. I don't know. I overthink these things. I really do. Like if I'm not like nice, or sometimes if I'm too nice, I overthink that too. I'm always overthinking like the way I talk to people. I have been reading this a little bit. I think I'm just a little bit distracted. Like I said, I don't feel like myself right now. So the reading is not going as smoothly or something. Like my brain is kind of like thinking about other things while I'm trying to read, and it's really frustrating. But I have about another hour that I'm gonna read this. The clubhouse here in my neighborhood, because they're doing some sort of Halloween event for the kids. So we're gonna see what that's all about. We were gonna go to another one that's gonna be in our new neighborhood. It's gonna be like a haunted trail, but I'm so off today. I mean, maybe that's exactly what I need. I just need to like push myself to go do it. Or 20-minute drive out there. I don't even know how to get there. My husband always drives us there. I have to go through the gate, which I don't know why. I'm like nervous to be like, hi, we're here for the we're here for the Halloween thing. I don't know. It's silly. It's totally silly. I don't know why I'm being like this. We'll see. Maybe I'll get out of my funk. I need to figure out how to get out of my funk. Is it weird that I keep waiting for this book to like be basic and disappoint me? Do you do that? I don't know. I wanted to point out some of these descriptions because I think they are really well done. Here's a description of this house that she is trying to get to. This very mysterious guy, Mr. Beasley. The marshal wants to know about his whereabouts. She is supposed to seek him out as one of the only two people to take her to this kind of forbidden land of Scree. Here's how she describes his house as she sees it. It clung like a limpet to the edge of the cliff. I don't even know what a limpet is. I'm probably gonna look that up in a while. It clung like a limpet to the edge of the cliff and was tall and gray shingled with white railings and trim. The architecture had followed no particular style. A cornice here, a bay there, a swooping roofline that looked as if it might take flight. There was an old-fashioned garden that had run amok on the south side of the house, and also a small apple orchard, beyond which Lena could see a weathered railing to a staircase that dropped over the edge of the cliff. On a point of the roof, a copper horse, tinted green by the sea air, danced crazily in the wind. Several other brass fixtures that Lena didn't recognize spun furiously. So she is met at the door by this woman, and this is how she describes this woman. She thrust her neck forward like a chicken, Lena thought. Next thing, she'd be strutting and clucking. I like that that's a basic description. A lot of people have been described as bird-like or whatever, but she also added, you know, strutting and clucking, and she thrust her neck out. Like, you get such a, like, you're standing in front of this woman who's very chicken-like in her behaviors and her looks. And I think that she kind of took a basic description and went beyond, and I really like that. So I've been very pleased with their writing in this book. I just finished chapter 9 of this book, and it was so good. Like, the last couple pages where Lena gets to Mr. Beasley's house, it's just so cool. Like, I love a book with a really cool library, and this definitely has a really cool library. It's like, she describes it more as like curiosities shop or whatever. I forgot what she said exactly, but there's like all these things in jars. And then Mr. Beasley is also like an inventor, and he's like he has all these inventions everywhere, and he has this really cool way of sending messages down to the library. And he sends like a message. It's like, you know, when you go to the bank and they have those tubes and you send them like you can go to the drive up and put your checks in there and it shoots them through the tubes. He's got that system in his library, and then he like sends Jameson a message to retrieve a book of poems. That was really surprising. I really liked that. So unfortunately, now that I finally got into the book, now we have to stop reading so that we can go do this thing. So, but it definitely leaves me very excited to come back home and read it. It's much nicer. Happy Halloween. I'm just gonna do a last minute reading vlog update. I didn't do anything today, really. I don't know what came over me. I was so tired. I ended up staying in bed all day for the most part. And I read a lot more of Peculiars. And then I got really sleepy, took a nap. And then woke up, read for about another hour, and then we had to get ready to go trick-or-treating, and that was a lot of fun. My son, who's 12, for the first time went on his own with his buddies in the neighborhood, and me and Aaron took off and went our own way. Unfortunately, I feel kind of bad for him because I guess they had to go home early, so he was home like after an hour of trick-or-treating. He was home by like 8. I dropped him off about 7. He was home by 8, so... But anyways, it was really cool for him to go. I was so nervous about it, and it was just ridiculous to be nervous. And his friends were nice and kind of showed him a shortcut way home, so they were looking out for each other. Plus, he had a phone and stuff like that. So things that like I didn't have as a kid, and I would run amok, not amok, but I had like so much freedom. It's crazy the difference from when I was a kid. Things are so different now, I swear. Like when I was a kid, no parents like hovered over their kids the way we hover over our kids nowadays. And I don't think it's because crime is any less than it was then. Maybe it's just because media makes it more like in your face all the time. I have no idea, but it's just different. Gwen, don't you dare. And we're just gonna knock over that cup. And I already cleaned up one soda mess all over the floor already. Anyways, I am tired. I'm looking forward to finishing up my book. I don't know if I'll read much more tonight, but anyways, I am a little over halfway through with this book, and let me tell you, I am surprised. I was actually really surprised. This book actually has a lot of different layers. It has a little smattering of a bunch of different topics woven into the storyline. I'll explain more about this book when I finish it. But I didn't know that the author of this book is also an awarded poet, so I'm very interested to look into her poetics. And I guess she has another series, another fantasy series after this as well. For now, good night. And tomorrow is November 1st, and I'm actually going to start another reading vlog for the 1st of November. So yeah, you can look forward to that.